In this video, we're going to focus on how you can use the Bezier curve to, in the canvas, which is a specific command to create, for example, these lines, create these kind of shapes here, figuring out how to reposition them, and so create something more unique in Chartjs. So this part here will basically be a plugin, and this plugin will load these specific shapes in here. And of course, you can do a lot more, but we'll just focus on the basics here for now. So let's explore how to do this. In this video, we're going to focus on one of the viewers' questions, which is how to create curves, circles, and lines with the bezierCurveTo canvas command in Chartjs. And this is a very specific canvas command that we're going to use, and which is the Bezier curve. One more thing here is basically you can create any shape as long as you understand how to use the canvas command in your Chartjs. So first of all, I want to show you where this question came from. This is one of my other videos, which I first thought was the question, which was how to draw a Bezier curve in a line chart with Chartjs. However, I wasn't sure if this was the question, so I also communicated back with Aditya Prabhu. So a special thank you for Aditya Prabhu for asking the question. And here this is what Aditya said. Thank you for this video. To be more specific, I was wondering if it's possible to draw closed curves in Chartjs, such as a circle or oval, using Bezier curves. Appreciate your work. So first of all, thank you for asking. I appreciate it as well. And secondly, yes, it is possible. You can create any shape as long as you understand how to implement the canvas in your chart. To do this, we're going to make this here. We're going to create a plugin. And that plugin will be loaded before anything else will be loaded, so it will insert and draw at the same time the moment the chart has been drawn. Alright, so if it sounds complicated, don't worry, I'm going to show you step by step. First of all, what I want you to do is I want you to go to the Chartjs, to this website here, which is chartjs.tree.com, and in here I have a default code ready. So I'm just going to copy this, and this is what I use here to save time, so I don't need to repeat this. But if you want to understand what I'm doing here or what this is, please check the video here. It covers it exactly. So this is just to save time, to avoid repeating the same thing over and over again. So I'm going to paste this in here. Once I paste it in here, I'm going to cut out this title and put it in here so I know exactly what is the topic of this video. And then what we're going to do here, if I save this now and go here and refresh, you can see the chart is being drawn. Perfect. So what we're going to do now is we're going to create the canvas, or at least we're going to create a plugin, and that plugin will eventually draw specific shapes. To do or to create a plugin, in here we are in the options. You see the options. Look at this bracket here, the curly braces, sorry. In this curly braces, we put in a comma, and then we say here, plugins, because we want to initiate a plugin, bracket, and then we say here curves. And the reason I'm going to give you curves is because this will be the name of the plugin. So be very consistent here. If you use curves here, we're going to make another item here. We say here constant curves equals curly braces, semicolon at the afterwards, and then in here we say ID. And what is the ID name? Well, the ID name must be identical with this. So that's why I ask you to be very consistent here. Use the constant and the curves consistent here. So everywhere it's same. So you know exactly which plugin you're working with, and if it loads exactly the right plugin. So we say ID curves, alright. So the next thing what we want to do is we want to say before draw. So before we draw anything, what I want to do is I want to grab all the information, which is a chart, comma, any arguments, so args, and options. These are all built-in commands that we're going to grab. Basically, the options is going to refer to here, the arguments are any arguments, and the chart is the chart itself, which will be eventually also the CTX part. That's basically initialization here. Alright. So then what we're going to do in here, we're going to grab the key fundamentals. What we want to have here is this. If you want to draw a shape in here, you need to figure out or understand two parts to distinguish in the canvas. Because right now, this is the canvas. Open up this. And you can see this is the canvas here. It starts from top to bottom, left to right. You can see here the canvas. But there's the one part as well. We also have the chart area. The chart area is basically these lines here, which is not the canvas completely, but some pixels down and some pixels to the right, etc., etc. And you can see here at the bottom, we have to some part that's not part of the chart area. The chart area is just these square lines here. And probably I will have to make a picture for that to make it very clear. But this is the chart area. This means that if you want to start a point, you cannot say exactly at 0 because you will put in here the canvas point. So what we're going to do here is to grab the official starting point. We'll say here constant, and then we say here the following, curly braces, because here we're going to create a restructuring object. And then we say here ctx, comma, chart area, which is just the area where the chart consists of, excluding the top, left, right, and bottom space in the canvas. Remember this, in the canvas, and this is the part inside the canvas where the real chart is being drawn. Alright, so I hope that makes sense. If it doesn't make sense, put it in the comment section below. But you will see it here as well. Once we have the chart area, we need to specify the top, comma, bottom, comma, left, comma, right, comma, and I would say also the width and height. Essential, because these here all together, you have here then this would be the left, this is the right, it's probably exactly at the dot, or exactly same here. But here the upper part here, this is the top, this is the bottom, and then the width would be from left to right, this length, and the height will be from top to bottom, this specific length. Alright? Very important, because in Canvas it can be very tricky once you want to calculate stuff. And I have other videos regarding to that. However, you can watch them as well if you want, covering this topic. I guess that's a series for the creating a plugin in Chartjs. So we have this now here. So we say our chart area, we have the CTX, and we have the chart area, and we have specified these specific values equals chart. Alright? So now, what we want to do now is start to draw a few shapes. To do this, I want to do here ctx.save, grabbing this here, and saving all of this data here. Do nothing else, but just save that, and then we say here again ctx.begin path. So we're going to start drawing something. What we're going to draw right now, well, we're going to use a specific command, which is the bezierCurveTo. So we say here again ctx, always ctx, because ctx is referring to this, and this is referring basically to the chart itself, which again refers to this canvas ID here. And why CTX? CTX stands for get context, and the get context is draw something in a canvas. Very simple. That's why we see that we are using CTX, because these are so interrelated to each other. So then we have here the bezierCurveTo. Alright, here we're going to work with a few values, so let's break those values down. So we have here the x1, comma, and you have the y1, comma, then you have the x2, comma, then you have the y2, comma, and then we have here the x value and the y value. So I'm going to explain all of these here. Alright, let's break them down here. So the x1 would basically mean the first point of the Bezier curve, right? So the starting point. So here we say x1 is starting point. Horizontally, horizontal, starting point horizontal, which means left to right, left or right of the Bezier curve. Simple as that. So once we have this, so basically if you wonder what is that, well, it depends here. But basically the starting point could be anywhere here because it's an x value, meaning we work, left to right. So it could be anything from left to right because it's an x value. Remember the x-axis, which is horizontal. So in here, it could be anywhere here in the position. If we say 0, it would be starting point here at the very left. And it could be up or down, but we didn't specify yet the vertical value, but it could be anywhere here. If we would say here at the very end, there would be a specific pixel amount. And then here up and down as well. So it could be here anywhere. Right, so left or right depending on what. And later on I will explain to you why this here, so you will understand it as well. So that could be anywhere. So then, and I will use some samples later on, one would be exactly the same, but then the starting point vertical. Vertical meaning up, down. Basically that, or let me remove this inspector element, alright, just up, down, could be anywhere. So if you would have x0, and then, well, x0 to be specific, x0 is here up. This is x0, and y0, it will be here. That's outside the area. But if you want to get the exact chart area point, it would be here. How many pixels that is? Well, you have to calculate this, and eventually we're going to do this with the command. And why is it in pixels? Remember, a canvas is pixelated. It's based on pixels. If you want not pixel but percentages, you have to use SVG. Then you have to go basically to the what is that? The D3JS. That's D3JS. This is pixels. That's why it's canvas. It works on pixels. All right, very important here. So if you want to get this specific point here, we need to figure out what's the pixel point here. To figure out this one, you basically can get this here, the top and left position of the chart area, which I'm going to show you afterwards. All right. So next, what we have is, let's see here, would be the X2. And this is basically the control point where it starts to move. Now, so this is the X2 would be the Bezier curve moving point, meaning that it will move a certain direction already in the beginning, but at this point it will start to do something else as well. Basically it will move based on whatever we have here specified. So that will be later on as well. So this will be the moving point here. This will be specifically for the X value, meaning from left to right. So if you will be moving in the center something, so for example we're going up to down, that's what we're going to make here. We could go first up here, and then once we hit here this center point, then we are going down here. But this would be here specific height, or specific, sorry, here because we're working with the x-axis, means based on horizontal level. So somewhere here in the center. And then if we want to have the y2 exactly the same, but then in a vertical level. Is a curve. This is horizontal, and here would be vertical. So then it starts to move as well, exactly the same point here. So this would meaning when will we move when we hit a certain point. So if we would hit here this center point, then we would go down. Simple as that. All right. And then of course here it would be the x and y would be the ending point. So this might look very complicated, but once you see it in action, you will understand. So this is ending point, horizontal, and now of course we have the y is the ending point, vertical. All right. So this would be if you would be making a line here from here going up to here, and then somewhere here we will go down back here. Means that the ending point would be this here. So let's figure out how do we grab these points here. For example, I want to get this point here. How do we figure that out? Well, let's check at this part here. So if we say here, we can put in here top. If we do console log top, and this is the reason why we're using the chart area here. And we get also the left position. So I'm going to copy this, put it here left. You will see the exact value. Oh, did I do something wrong? Sorry. Oh, of course, I cannot have this yet. The reason why is because these are not real values. These are not constants or variables. So, all right, ignore that. Save this, refresh. Now it works again. Open up Developer tab. You can see here, and you can see your multiple. Don't worry about this. The reason why it keeps on loading is because we're hovering over the chart. And in the beginning, you have the animation, so it loops through it. But basically, at point or 32, if I'm not mistaken, here would be the top is 32. So this means that here to here, exactly, is 32. And the left to right would be somewhere 27 plus, as you can see. All right, so let's start and work on this. So let's make something. I'm going to show you what we're going to do. I'm going to put in here the x. Well, the x would be left. So we say we want to start at the very left top, and then we go here at, yes, that's the starting point. This will be this corner here, this point. Then we want to end here. All right, to end here, basically, we can get here the right, because we want to end at the very right, and it's still at the top. We can do bottom, but then what it would mean is it would go down here. All right, and here what we have to do here, here's the breaking point. So we would say here the width. If you put in here width, we want to do halfway. So the width would be this point, the length. They say halfway, so width divided by 2. And then we have here the height The height could also be divided by 2. We save that and refresh. Oh. Alright, we've got something here, but I realize that we still need to do a few more items here. And that's the following. We say here ctx.stroke to make sure that it is a line. Stroke stands for a line. Why the term stroke? Remember, we're talking here about canvas. What is a canvas? Think about a painting. A painting, and then you have a paintbrush. When you make a line with a paintbrush, we call it a stroke. A stroke with your paintbrush. So that's why they call it here. In the same mindset, they're using the same terms here. So they're thinking in the term of a painter. Alright, so we save this here. And there we are. Oh, we should have this a little bit more down. I guess maybe we can do here the height. Let's figure out what is exactly here going on. Oh, sorry. That one is not what I want. Save. You need to do this height because at that moment it hits the center point here. Well, not 100% exactly, but that's fair enough. What we could do as well is if we do it, we move it to the bottom. Move to the bottom, you might be better to see that well, but you can control it here. This, and then here we have the width, and then the height. Height would be here 0, I guess. Yes, all right. So height 0 is you don't want to move it any position. That's of course the situation. You don't want to move it any position, so it hits here. Although I am not very used to making a lot of things with this item here, so you can play around with it more. But what I do want to do here is, besides this, we have this one now, but let's create still 2 dots here, because there was a question of creating a circle. Well, let's make a circle out of, let's make 2 circles here as eyes, so we have something that looks like a smiley, except that the person, not the smiley, not smiley, but it's a unhappy smiley. All right, to do this, same situation. We want to reset the begin path here, and I will just put it here down. So we have all of these nodes here above, and I will say here this will be circles, and here we're going to set a begin path to reset it to make sure that it starts again. And then what we're going to do here is the following. So the ctx.arc, and arc is basically creating a circle. So what I'm going to do in here is almost similar, but we have of course some other values. We have the first value would be a x coordinate, or it's x. Then you have another one, it's the y. And then you have the radius, which is the r. And then after that you will have the starting point or angle, starting angle. That might be a good term. And finally is the ending angle. Meaning you can create, let's say, well, this is an arc. If you remember arcs, a pie chart uses arc. However, what they do is basically starting angle and ending angle here. You can make a circle, you can make a half circle, you can make slices of a pie or slices of a donut chart, etc., etc. So you could do here quite a lot of stuff. So what we're going to do is we're just going to make circles. So we're going to use an angle, and then we're going to make it a complete circle out of it. Very straightforward, nothing fancy, because it's just to explore. All right. So in here, x coordinates. So this is x here is basically starting point. Starting point, but specifically here now is the center. So the x will be the center where the pie chart or donut chart or the circle will start. Meaning it's like the dot in the eye. Something like that. The dot in the eye. Or the eye of an eye of your face. I'm referring, not the eye of a of the eye of India, for example. Alright? So here would be the y is the starting point and center, but then on the y level. Yes, so the center of the circle. Center of the circle. This would, if you would say in HTML version, you would say div, center, div. Center of center in the div. Very simple. I guess that would be the right term here. The center of a div of that specific circle. So then what we have here is the starting angle, which you can reposition. So if you want to change that, think about a pie chart that has multiple slices. You want to have a different starting point, different ending point. By default, it is starting at 3 o'clock. Sorry, that's a clock. So if you are familiar with Chartjs version 2 and Chartjs version 1, you know that you had to sort of fiddle around with the thing to figure out the exact point. But 3 o'clock is the starting point, and then you have to calculate everything, etc., etc. Luckily now in Chartjs they are using now a 360 degrees, meaning that you can do one circle 360 degrees because this was calculated in pi before. Alright, ending angle. Since we're not going to use this because we're going to make full circle, we'll just put in a full circle. We don't have to fiddle around with that or cut that and calculate. But here, this will be the ending angle. So if you had a pi, this would be suitable, but what we want to do here, end it at where it starts. So it's a full circle. Alright, let's start and work with it. So what I'm going to do here is the following. So for example, I get left. Alright, you will see here we are not able to use left to a certain point because we need to specify a bit more. So alright, so we say left, and then we say here the y, where will be the starting point. If we want to push it a bit more down here, or we can do it in the halfway or something, doesn't matter, but let's say 100 pixels from the very top. Alright, so we say here, or let's say 75 pixels, that's more than sufficient. Then the radius is how big the dot will become. Think about the bubble chart where you have the X, Y, and R. And R is the size of the circle in how many points or pixels. So let's make this 25 pixels. That's alright. Starting angle, because by default the starting point is 3 o'clock. So we just put it on 3 o'clock. So we say 0, comma. Alright. And the ending point is the following. The ending point is a formula. How to calculate a circle, you basically do 2, because you need to have pi. Remember pi? So we say 2 multiplied by math dot pi, P-I, both in capitalized letters. So once we have this, let's save that and see what we have. And before we do that, what do we need to do more? We have here this. Let's grab this. I'm going to put in here stroke. Later on I'm going to fill it up because right now we just have a circle. Alright, as you can see, we moved this one, but we haven't moved this correctly. And this is why left here was probably not the right location, because it just starts at the left point, but we're exactly at the very beginning because of the point here. So somewhere here is not sufficient enough. So we're going to move that a bit more. You can see officially the point is here in the center. It's probably this point here. And this is maybe, I didn't explain that one here. If you would do this one 0, you will see what will happen here. With 0, refresh, you can see here what happened. The line starts at the very point of the canvas, which you don't want here as well. So this one left here, just to make sure, so you can see that's why we have this position here, left and the bottom as well. So if we do this 0, 0, before I even continue on, you can see here it moves here 0, 0. It starts at the very top corner here. If you want to do bottom 0, it should be here probably 350 because that's the width in pixels, or the height. As you can see here, if you look at this, there you are, exactly everything like that. So I hope that makes some sense. If not, let me know. But here, not satisfied with y because we're just here at the left point. I want to move this one more here. So I say here, we're going to say plus 100 pixels. Save that, refresh, and there we are. So we move that a bit more here, and then we have this. So we have this now. Let's play around with this more. You say here, this is a stroke. Remember, this is a paintbrush stroke. So how do we fill up a circle? Well, we just say here, fill. We fill up. There we are. And of course, we can give it a color, but for now, that's all right. Leave it for now. And there you have the fill. So it's now by default a black color. So what if we want to push in the eye to the other side, or we want to have another eye here? Well, almost the same methodology. What we need to do here first is this. Then we have all of this. Then we're going to say here, basically the same thing. We can grab all of this, but again, a begin path. And then here, what we could do, basically what we need to do is a mirror reflection. If here is left, plus 100, we go to the right at this very end, and then you should do probably minus 100. So I say here, right, you just put in right for now, and see what happens. If I do right here, what happens is it starts here at the very point here, and you can see it chops away part of the eye, or of the circle. So what I want to do here is minus 100, save that, and there we are. So now we have this here, and I just want to show you just some tiny items. If you want to put in here, this is the starting point is at 3 o'clock. All right, so let's say here, make this 1, meaning a half circle, because we have pi times 2 is a full circle. Pi times 1 is a half circle. Save that. There you are. Starting at 3 o'clock. And here probably you can change this as well. If I would change the pi here, I think it must be pi as well. Oh, that doesn't work. So I have to check if I do this at 1. Let's see here what happened. As you can see, it starts to do something, but in this case, I'll just leave it. I haven't researched that deeply enough, and for now, it's not that important. The most important thing is you can make the circles, you can play around with it, you can play around with these points. Understand this here. This is the most important part you need to know. Or sorry, that's this one here. Understand these here: top, bottom, left, right, width, and height. Playing around with this. So this is basically, yes, you can do with the Bezier curve tool. You can use all kind of shapes. If you have any questions, put them in the comment section below. But this should basically clarify most of it. Thank you for watching this video, and I hope you enjoy it. And if you enjoy this video, you probably will enjoy this one as well. And if you're interested in Chartjs, check out in the description box the link directing to my Chartjs course where you can learn everything about Chartjs. And finally, of course, make sure you subscribe to my channel.